Making a video game as a solo developer has got to be one of the most irrational things a human can do. Not only are you competing with the largest companies in the world with budgets big enough to be a small country, you've also got to manage to be an expert on almost every digital and creative skill there is. And even if you manage to get all those points right and spend thousands of hours of your life making this one video game, you might get unlucky and your game will fade into the background of unplayed and dead games on the infinite Steam pages. But if you really want something, monetary success and critical acclaim shouldn't be a part of it. And sometimes you just gotta say, But before I explain you all about Endeavour, I'd first like to introduce you to a free and easy learning platform, Brilliant. Brilliant is the most efficient way to learn topics like math, data science and computer science, with thousands of lessons from basic to advanced topics and new lessons being added every month. There's always something new to learn. Brilliant has a very unique way of teaching. With fun exercises and real-world examples, Brilliant always has a creative fun twist on teaching you something new. I've personally been really enjoying the math courses, but Brilliant has so many diverse and fun topics. So whether you want to up your data skills or work on understanding code, Brilliant has you covered. Brilliant also customizes the content to fit your need. So whether you're a pro or could use a refresh on the basics, Brilliant has you covered. And my favorite part about Brilliant is that you can use it anywhere. Whether you're using your phone, tablet or PC, you can learn anywhere, anytime. Brilliant is great for game developers and gamers. The platform's interactive nature make it almost feel like a minigame. So if you're a game developer looking to improve your skill, or a beginner who's just getting started, I highly recommend checking out Brilliant. Try Brilliant for free for a full 30 days by visiting brilliant.org/lucky or by clicking the link in the description. And the first 200 people who sign up using my link will get 20% off an annual plan. It's brilliant.org/lucky. I'd like to split this video into 3 parts. In the first part I'll explain the game, what it's all about and how it will be played. In the second part I'll explain the style in which the video game is made. And in the third part I'll explain the rules I set for myself to actually get this game done. The game. The game will be set on an abandoned spaceship drifting deep in the universe. You will be a maintenance robot trying to repair this ship and get it back to its homeworld. With the guidance of the ship's captain, who is an AI, you will be restoring the ship to its former glory. The ship will consist of 7 decks. Each deck will have its own problems that you will need to solve with puzzle solving, combat and critical thinking. I want to structure the game in a similar style as Mario 64, where you'll have access to multiple decks at the same time, but you'll need to beat some parts of some decks to gain access to next decks. This way, if you get stuck on a puzzle on a deck, you can back out and go to another deck to try your luck there, keeping the gameplay diverse and not getting you hard stuck on problems you don't want to solve. I haven't decided on what every deck will be yet, but I definitely want to have a medical deck, a bio/farming deck, a hangar deck, and I want a production deck. I don't think every deck will have combat, some will just purely be puzzle solving, while others might be completely focused on combat in a boss fight style. The story of the game will be pretty straightforward. It's all about restoring the ship and finding out what happened to the ship, but it will probably not play a critical role in the game. I'll probably make the underlying story of what happened to the ship a completionist factor, where it can only be figured out by finding collectibles and reading all the notes. So, very oversimplified, the game will be a giant spaceship with 7 decks, 7 different teams and 7 different types of puzzles to solve. The style of the game. What you saw in the intro is one of my many tries to get the style of this game set in stone. I really like this low poly outline look, and although the style you saw in the intro will not be the final one, as it heavily depends on this outline shader, which doesn't always act nice, I'm probably gonna tweak it a little bit and it will look a little bit more like this. Furthermore, I'm a huge fan of old school sci-fi, like 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s sci-fi. I'm a big fan of all the Star Treks, and I'm currently reading all of Arthur C. Clarke's books. And I really want to encapsulate that sense of wonder that old sci-fi had. Because I feel like modern sci-fi really is dystopian and this evil twist on sci-fi, while old school sci-fi had more of a utopian / the wonder of technology and what is possible feeling. And I really want that into the game. For character design, I want to keep it very minimal, because that's a lot of animation, voice acting, stuff that is just very time consuming. So there might be some rogue robots on the ship, while the ship's captain will be the only voiced character, acting as a tutorial slash Navi slash Cortana type character. That doesn't really affect gameplay, but is more there as kind of a companion slash comedic relief slash guidance character. And finally, the rules I'm setting for myself to build this game. I'm gonna do a rough pass first of the game, where you could just get every deck in, get all the functionality in, get some idea of what the game is gonna look like, and get that out to playtesters. And after that, I'll do 2 rounds of reiterating. We'll go over everything, see what's staying, see what's leaving, and just revise the game that way. I'm doing it this way instead of just going for a final product in one go, because it's really hard to tell if a game is any good early on. And I think it will be very demotivating if I realize that a mechanic or a puzzle I designed just works for me and it isn't actually fun for everybody else, and I'll have to redo a lot of work. So yeah, I want to get a base game out first and definitely keep most of the visuals for later. I will do some concept art and some branding early on, so I can get some pages like Steam pages and itch pages out pretty soon. I'm also gonna write a little rulebook for myself on how certain things should feel, what sound effects should sound like, what music should sound like, what colors should go where, what are the rules for colors in certain areas to keep the game looking as one whole. And I want to set an overall rule for how challenging a puzzle or something could be, like how much prior knowledge you would need to have of a certain subject to solve the problem. And that's actually what the first part of this project is going to be. I'm going to create this rulebook, set up the style, decide how the decks are going to look, get some concept art out, get some branding out, just to have a base platform to iterate upon. It is going to be quite a big project. I'm very excited to do it, also a little scared because it is a big commitment, especially when you're doing it publicly on this YouTube channel. But it's not too big of a risk. Last year I spent an average of 40 hours on game development and YouTube creation a week next to my part-time job, and I'll be doing the same this year, allocating 30 hours a week for the game, 10 hours for editing these devlogs, and I hope to get the first playable version of this game out in about 1000 to 1200 hours and the final version in 2000 hours. I'm definitely not quitting my job or anything for this, so it's not that big of a risk. It's just going to be a big struggle of keeping motivation and making sure I keep believing in the project, because a lot of my projects strand somewhere where halfway through I think this is just not a fun game, I'm working on nothing, and I just gotta push through that and finish this game. And I'm just hoping that these devlogs will help with that. Another big part is that I've already done a lot of testing. I've built a lot of mechanics that I want in the game, tested them out. I've worked on the style a lot. I've been working a lot in sci-fi, reading a lot in sci-fi, so I really feel ready now. And I think I'm in a nice part of my YouTube career where I could start a bigger project and have some kind of following for the project, which will also be very motivating. So yeah, that's about it for now. At the end of January, I'll release a video where I finalized the concept art and the branding, and I'll be able to give you guys the first look into the world of Endeavor. Until then, bye.